Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How Tableau Training Can Transform the Way You See and Understand Data. Our speaker today is Tableau trainer and data scientist, Jason Beckadam. Jason is a data scientist with end-to-end analytics experience. Jason is one of the lead certified instructors for Tableau training courses. Jason is fluent in both English and French and can create content and deliver training services in both languages. From Toronto, Canada, Jason has been working with Tableau for 4 years and teaching students for 2 years. His clients span across multiple industries such as healthcare, telecommunications, and finance. And for a personal touch, his favorite sports teams are the Toronto Raptors and Villanova Wildcats basketball teams. Now, before we get started with today's webinar, I want to touch on the functionalities. During the session, everyone's microphones will be muted. So if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We also have the chat window enabled, so you can post your questions in either the Q&A or the chat. We will have a dedicated question and answer session after the presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded and we'll send a copy out to everyone who registered to be here. All right, let's get started. You can take it away, Jason.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name's Jason. I'm a Tableau instructor. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today, probably on your lunch breaks. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. Let's jump right into a poll question right now, just so I can get a gauge of the audience. I'd love to know how much experience you have working with Tableau. So I'm just going to launch this poll right now. And if you could take a second to answer, it'd be really appreciated. All right. Answers are flowing in. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Let's just take a look at those results right now. So it looks like 84% of you are new to Tableau. So that's perfect. I know who I'm talking to mostly. Then we have 13% with less than 1 year, and then 3% with more than 1 year. So that's great to know. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so let's go into the agenda. There's 3 points that I really want to hit on today. The first one is, what is Tableau Authorized training? Authorized is the key word there. Then most of my webinar today, or most of the webinar today, is going to be a sneak peek at Tableau Desktop Live. So this is the course that we find is the most popular. And I'm actually going to show you live in Tableau what you can expect to learn from these Tableau Desktop courses. So stay tuned for that. And then finally, in the end, I want you guys to understand why you should definitely take a Tableau training course with us. All right, so what is Tableau Authorized training? Well, it's officially developed and authorized by Tableau. This means that Tableau itself has developed curriculum to teach these courses. And I've actually gone down to Tableau to learn how to teach this curriculum. Okay, why not get the curriculum directly from the source? They know their product best. They know how to teach it best. It's live and instructor led. So it's usually a 2 or 3 day course. And you'll basically be on a call with me or another instructor at any time or at all times. And this really allows you to ask a question as soon as it comes up, right? If you don't know how to do something, you can just unmute your mic and ask away. Or if you don't want to use your mic, you can also use your chat or email. I'm happy to answer in any way possible. But I really like this because it keeps students engaged. It also keeps me engaged, right? Because I've taught this course many, many times. And the more engagement I get from the students, the more interesting it keeps it for me as well. And also, I really like to interact with students because it makes sure that no one gets left behind. Okay, there's a lot of IT training, and believe me, I've taken a lot of dull IT training in the past where I don't have it's not instructor led. Instead, I'm looking at a video And sometimes it's really hard to keep up because I might get stuck at one point and I can't ask a question. Okay, so being able to ask that question on the spot is super useful. And then finally, you can choose from a variety of course offerings. So this is really important because Tableau offers a ton of different offerings depending on, firstly, the level at which you are in Tableau. So I saw most of you have not used Tableau, so you're very new to Tableau. That's fine. I'm going to direct you to the course that you'd probably be most comfortable in and where you'd probably get the most value in, right? But Tableau also has a ton of courses for people who are more advanced as well. So we're going to go over that throughout this webinar. Don't worry about it. Okay, so what courses are offered? Well, the courses are divided depending on the software that you're actually using in Tableau. So just as an introduction to Tableau, Tableau basically has 3 software offerings. You have Tableau Desktop. This is the product. This is really the flagship product of Tableau. This is how Tableau became a super huge company. They developed this really innovative way of building reports in a super easy way. And Tableau Desktop is great for doing that. You don't need to know any coding. It's really just drag and drop functionality. And then Tableau decided, well, we need a way for people to actually maintain these reports in a central repository. So they developed something called Tableau Server. There's also courses on Tableau Server, and they really deal with data governance, data security, data sources, maintenance, all that. That's Tableau Server. And then finally, this is a newer product, but it's starting to get a bit more mature now in the marketplace. There's Tableau Prep. So this is if you want to take a really raw data source and maybe it's not ready yet to go into Tableau Desktop to create your reports. That's where Tableau Prep is going to come as that intermediary step where you can take that raw data source, you can transform it, you can clean it, and then you can push it to your Tableau Desktop to author those really, really great reports. Okay, so let's hop on to the second poll question. I think I might have an idea as to what the answers are going to be, considering most of you are new to Tableau, but let's take a look at this. So let's relaunch. We want this one. All right, so the question is, which Tableau platform do you use? All right, oh, lots of answers coming in, I like it. I think we have some new people too in here, so welcome if you missed the intro. Okay, sweet, so I'm gonna end the polling in 3, 2, 1. Beautiful, let's take a look at these results. So we actually have quite a few people who are using Tableau Server, so that's really great. And then, of course, Tableau Desktop is a big one, and other. Okay, great, really great to know. Thanks for sharing, guys. Wonderful. So let's actually talk about what you get when you sign up for a Tableau course. So for every single Tableau course, you're going to receive a practice guide. So this is going to be basically a manual, over 100 pages. You have a ton of different exercises. You have the exercise solutions as well if you want to refer to them. This is really where you're going to be able to learn on your own and test out your knowledge that you were taught in the course. So that's great. You also get a theory manual. So if some people, they like to review some stuff after class, or maybe a month from the course, they like to review, make sure they kept up with everything. Well, you're going to get a theory manual with all the different subjects and all the different chapters that we're going to learn in the course. You're also going to get an example or a bunch of examples for Tableau workbooks. So let's say you want to know how to do a map in Tableau and you don't remember how to do it from the course. Well, you can actually you can open up Tableau. Tableau has an example of that map, right? You can basically do that for any chart you learn in the course. And then finally, you're going to get something called an access to e-learning on tableau.com. Okay, so this is a 90-day free pass to this great resource that's also developed by Tableau. It has a bunch of videos and a bunch more theory as well. All right, beautiful. So let's go into Tableau Desktop. Okay, this is the courses that we see that are really the most popular. So the first one is Tableau Desktop Fundamentals. Okay, this is really going to teach you the fundamentals. So I'm really a basketball guy. So when I was learning the fundamentals as a kid, I learned how to dribble, I learned how to shoot, I learned how to pass. Okay, so you're really going to learn the basics, the fundamentals. If maybe you're not really a sports kind of person, well, I think most of us took chemistry in high school. This is really, I think, you're going to learn basically the periodic table for chemistry. Okay, you're going to learn all the different elements of Tableau, but you're not necessarily going to learn how they interact. Then you're going to hop to Desktop 2. Okay, so Desktop 2 is for the intermediate Tableau desktop user. Maybe now you have access to all your periodic table elements, and you're like, okay, what if I take this element and interact it with this element? Is it going to explode? Is it going to make fire? Okay, that's what Desktop 2 is going to do for you. And then finally, Desktop 3. Well, this is going to get really advanced. Okay, this is if you went to college and you took organic chemistry. It becomes much more abstract, but also extremely useful, and it allows you to develop new concoctions of chemistry. Well, Desktop 3 is exactly like that. You're going to learn some abstract formulas, and you're going to be able to have a tool set that's going to enable you to actually innovate in Tableau. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Tableau and we're going to do a progression. I'm going to start with what you'll probably learn or what you would reasonably learn in Desktop 1. I'm going to go through just a couple charts and one report, but it's really just the tip of the iceberg. Then after I'm done those charts, I'm going to go to Desktop 2. And then finally, we're going to see what you learn in Desktop 3. All right, beautiful. So the first thing in Tableau is you need to be able to connect to a data source. So if you've never seen Tableau and you're wondering, oh, can I actually connect to my data source? The answer is most likely yes. We can connect to files. So this is where you have your Microsoft Excels, your CSV files, your spatial files, and then there's also servers. So there's a ton of different servers in here. There's also something called ODBC and JDBC connectors. So if you don't see your server in here as well, you can probably use it through a connector. But for today and for our courses in desktop, we're really only going to look at flat files. So we're only going to look at CSV files and Microsoft Excel files. Okay, so if I go to Microsoft Excel and I find my data set, so client list, I can actually get a live preview of what my data set looks like in Tableau. Okay, so this data set is actually a data set I made up for this webinar. It's one of the things I like to do for my courses as well. I like to make up different data sets to keep it a little fun. So this is actually, it's kind of a look inside of a Tableau training organization, okay? We're gonna say, oh, this is the company that we trained. This is the course title that they trained, the amount of students, and their satisfaction score. So these companies are actually all fictitious. We have the Springfield nuclear power plant from The Simpsons here. There's also Axe Capital. We also have, oh, what's the Avengers one again? Stark Industries. Okay, so this is by no ways a real data set, but I like to use data sets that can be applied in real use cases, right, in my teaching. So here we go. This is our data set. Let's go ahead and click on our first sheet here to introduce Tableau Desktop. Okay, with Tableau Desktop, you're gonna have access to some data on the side here. And this data is separated in two different ways. The first, so this blue area right here, this is something called dimensions. This is really data that you're going to be able to categorize your data set by. And then below that, in green right here, this is something called measures. Measures are stuff that you can aggregate, okay? They're numeric variables, such as the amount of students that you had or your satisfaction score. Okay, by combining dimensions and measures in Tableau Desktop, we're actually able to create really cool looking visualizations and do it very quickly and easily. Okay, that's the key here. We're not trying to spend hours and hours to get a visualization just right. No, you can create a visualization in just a few clicks. For example, maybe I want a bar chart of my course titles by the amount of students I've had in each one of these courses. Well, I'm just going to drag a dimension and a measure to my rows, and there we go. We have that bar chart super quickly, right? Oh, Desktop 1 and 2 Accelerated is our most popular course. Nice. What's our least popular? Oh, server architecture. Okay, quick and easy. We have a bar chart. Another thing you're going to learn in Desktop 1 is filtering. Okay, there's a ton of different ways you can filter in Desktop 1, but let's cover a date filter. So if I take the course date now and I just add it to my filter here, I can actually filter by a range of dates within my data set. So let's say I want to go back, I want to only see data from like let's say 2017. Nice. We'll see my data changes depending on my filter here. Okay, sweet. So that's a bar chart. So I'll name this bar chart or Tableau Desktop 1 bar chart. And let's create another chart that you'd expect to learn in Desktop 1. So this one is going to be called Desktop 1 line chart. Okay, so line charts are a chart that's super commonly used in time series analysis. And in order to do a time series analysis, we need to use a date field. So let's use our course date this time in our columns, and let's use the month of our course date. And again, let's take a look at the amount of students that we've had throughout each one of these months. Okay, beautiful. So here we go. We have a line chart really quickly of all of our different students throughout each one of our months. And we can see there's a big peak right here. Okay, so May 2020. Why do we think we got more students in May 2020? This is a question that you can now answer based off of this graph, or you can now research based off of this graph. And probably what people will say is, well, a lot of stuff got locked down right before this. So companies were trying to scramble to find different ways to train people online. Okay, that's why we got such an uptick in students for that month. Again, this is just a fictitious data set. I doctored these numbers, but there you go. We have an insight already on our second graph. Now, with this graph too, we'll also learn about dynamic labels in Desktop 1. Okay, so maybe I want to show the amount of students for the maximum point of my data set. So by taking the amount of students and adding it to my label, I now have effectively labeled every single point in my line chart. But maybe I only want to show the maximum. Well, I can do that. I'm just going to hit min max and only allow my maximum value. And there we go. We have 157 for our highest point. Maybe I want to show the course date for that point as well. Well, I'll take my course date and I'll just add it to my label as well, May 2020. And finally, for the ultimate customization, let's increase the font here. And let's say max students. Let's add this as red. Beautiful. Oh, oops. Went to my other screen. Beautiful. Max students 157 May 2020. Okay, so this is just two charts that you're learning Desktop 1, right? I think you're going to learn upwards of 15 charts in desktop 1. Once you learn all these charts, you're also going to learn how can you actually create a final interactive report in order to combine these charts to gain insights. Well, in Tableau, reports are called dashboards. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to create this dashboard. I just clicked on this button at the bottom here, and I'll call this desktop 1 dashboard. With dashboards, all you have to do to bring in your charts is drag and drop. Okay, so let's say I want to have my bar chart at the top. Well, I'm going to drag and drop it. And then my line chart at the bottom, I'll drag and drop it at the bottom. There we go. We have our 2 charts interact or together in one report. And then how can we actually interact with these or make them interactive? Maybe I want someone to be able to click on desktop 2, and then we only see data for desktop 2 in my line chart below. Well, we can do that super easily with Tableau. I'm just going to click on this little button called Use as Filter. And now let's click desktop 2, and we can see our line chart is effectively filtering depending on what I click. I can also make this filter at the top here apply to desktop or to my bar chart as well. So I'll say apply to worksheets, all using this data source. And now when I change this filter, we can see it's effectively changing as well. Okay, so some really cool stuff that I can't show you guys because we're just going to run out of time. But another really cool thing that you'll learn in desktop 1 is, let's say you have a URL that you want to point to, that you want to be dynamic. You want it to be a dynamic URL. Well, you can actually learn how to do that in desktop 1 as well. So that's just something that I get really excited about. Of course, you're going to have to take the course to kind of view that kind of use case there. Okay, so that's desktop 1. Let's take a look at a chart that you would see in desktop 2. Okay, so when I went back to my analogy of periodic tables, desktop 1, yeah, we learn how to do a bar chart and we learn how to do a line chart. That's great. Well, in desktop 2, we're going to be a little more use case focused. Okay, so we're going to talk about real problems that companies are facing every day. And one of those problems is something called a cohort analysis. Okay, if you don't know too much about what a cohort analysis is, that's totally fine. I'm going to explain to you once we've done the chart how we can read it and how we can use it. But I also want to highlight that in desktop 2, you're also going to learn advanced formulas. Okay, it's not only desktop 3 that you learn formulas. Desktop 2, you're also going to start to learn those formulas. And you actually have to use a formula for a cohort analysis. Okay, so let's build out a bar chart to begin. So let's say I have course date and I brought it to my columns here. And then I want to take my amount of students and put it on as a bar chart. So I'm just going to do that. All right, perfect. So I have my amount of students per year in my desktop here. And now I want to do a cohort analysis. So to do a cohort analysis, we're actually going to explore a custom calculation here. And I'm going to call this calculation min fixed date. Okay, so we're not gonna have the time to like explain this super in depth. Usually it's like a 20-minute lesson on what this formula is, but I'm gonna cover it on a high level. So in Tableau, you have these formulas called fixed level of detail expressions, and they basically allow you to tell Tableau to ignore certain dimensions in your workbook. Okay, so right now, my amount of students is absolutely dependent on my year of that course date. Okay, so that amount of students here is being categorized by 2016. And that really allows Tableau to empower its users to create visualizations very quickly. The problem is with certain use cases, this is actually going to be detrimental. And that's when we have to be more flexible and use level of detail expression. So to do a level of detail expression, I'm going to write the word fixed, and then I'm going to add the category that I actually want to use to categorize my data. And I'm going to say company name. With company name, I want the minimum date of their course. Okay, so what this is effectively going to give me is the first year that a company took our course. Okay, so we're going to be able to track our customers or our companies throughout our years. Okay, this is really sweet and super useful information. I'm going to add it to color here. And the way we can read this cohort analysis is, okay, everyone in 2016 is colored as blue. If we look at our legend at the top right here, we have 2016 colored as blue. And out of these 214 students, we had 115 students continue to take another course in 2017. In 2017, we actually had 128 new students. Okay, and this is going to go on for each one of these bars. So we can see 2016 we've had quite a few repeat customers, and especially in 2020. 2017, the numbers went a little down in 2018, but they've recovered. And then there's actually no one that started in 2019. So this is the kind of analysis, or the cohort analysis, the kind of analysis that's going to allow you to understand, okay, have my marketing campaigns been working to get new customers? Or are they really just maybe bringing back existing customers? Okay, that's your cohort analysis. Super useful. Definitely one of my favorite use cases that you'll learn about in Desktop 2. All right, let's take a look at one more use case in Desktop 2. So this is called relationships. Okay, so right now, if we look at our data set, we are only using one table. But oftentimes, you want to be able to link different tables in Tableau. Well, to do that, we're going to learn something called relationships in Desktop 2. I'm going to take my company list right here, and I'm going to add it to my fact table via something called a noodle. Yes, that is the technical term here for this orange line. It's called a noodle. So we're going to join our client fact table with our company list. We're going to choose what kind of IDs we want to use to join these together. So it's company ID and company ID. There we go. And now we can effectively have linked this table that has, based off each company, a contact name as well as a contact person. Okay, so for Burns Industries, we have Charles Montgomery Burns, and we have their phone number. Well, now we can build a new kind of chart that's going to take advantage of this kind of relationship. Okay, so let's say I have a list of my companies. I have the contact person for that company because I have access to my company list, right? We have our original data set right here, but then we also have our new table that has been linked to our data, right? So there we go, company list, contact person. Let's also add their phone number. And then let's add a satisfaction score. So for satisfaction score, what I'm going to say is I want the average satisfaction score for each company, and I want to sort. So you can see Wayne Enterprises. So contact person Bruce Wayne, he has a 5 out of 5 satisfaction score, right? So now if we're a company that delivers training and we have a really great relationship with Wayne Enterprise, we can say, oh, we can call up Bruce Wayne here and we can ask him to give us a 5-minute testimony about how they enjoyed our training. Hopefully we'll get more leads as a result. And this is kind of a list to see, oh, who are my clients that had 5 out of 5, right? We have just a bunch at the top here. Now, Bruce Wayne might be a little hard to reach depending on the time of day, but maybe we'd rather call Jack Shepard from Lost. There you go. Well, he might be a little hard to reach too for different reasons, but okay. Get the idea. So here we go, desktop 2 relationships. Also with desktop 2, we're going to add more functionality for dashboards. Okay, so if I call this desktop 2 main dashboard, and I'm going to use that cohort analysis, as well as I'm going to go back to my bar chart for a second here. So there we go. We have this quick and easy report. Let's say I want people to be able to navigate to another dashboard that might have more granular information, right? So to do this, we first have to create the other dashboard, and then we're going to add some navigation to these dashboards. So I'll call this desktop 2 contact list. I'm just going to use this relationship contact list that we created earlier. Okay, beautiful. And now I'm going to add interactions. So in Tableau, there's something called dashboard actions. So I'm going to add a dashboard action to filter over to my other dashboard. Okay, so my source sheet is going to be, let's do our bar chart. Menu is good. Find out more information, or find out contact information from previous clients for course title. Our target sheets are now going to be that second dashboard I just created. Okay, so desktop 2 contact list. And let's take a look at what this is actually going to give for us. If I go to desktop 1 accelerated, I now have a hyperlink that says find out contact information from previous clients for desktop 1 and 2 accelerated. I can click on that. And we now effectively have our clients sorted by satisfaction score. But also, these are our clients that took Tableau Desktop Accelerated. Okay, so it's effectively going to filter out this list depending on the course that you selected. Okay, this is just one of the many actions that you would expect to learn in Tableau Desktop 2. And then finally, let's go quickly into Desktop 3. So with desktop 3, we're going to get more abstract, and I'm not going to go really into the weeds of it, but I'm just going to show you 2 of the use cases that I like to show in desktop 3. So I'll do maybe pie chart here. Let's quickly create a pie chart. So this is something you'll actually learn in desktop 2, or sorry, desktop 1, but we're going to use a pie chart to create something called embedded analytics. So let's take our pie chart. If I can remember how to make one, no, I'm just kidding. Perfect. So we have a pie chart for each one of our courses, and maybe I want to know the amount of people for each one of these courses. Well, I can take my students add it to label. I can even change my students to be percentages. So let's change this to a percentage. That way we know exactly, because pie charts, after all, are about percentages, percent of total. There we go. Desktop 1 and 2 accelerated with 26%, and then server architecture with 6%. So that's great. Let's do something called embedded analytics. So this looks super cool. Let's say I've created my bar chart once again of my years. And I want people to be able to hover over these bars and actually see that pie chart that we just created. Well, it's super easy to do. I can just edit something called my tooltip. I'm going to insert my pie chart. And now when I hover over here, we actually have that pie chart showing. And the underlying data for this pie chart is actually filtered by the year that you're hovering over. Okay, so this is 2018. These percentages, these data values are actually representative of 2018. Okay, so that's embedded analytics. We're going to go over that in depth in Tableau Desktop 3. Another use case that I really like is a map. So I'll say Tableau Desktop 3 map. So we haven't seen this before. We actually don't have any data here that is geographical. So let's say we did actually just add a locations table now to my relationships. Now I have access to geographic data sets that I can create territories. I can create custom territories using this data set. So let's say all my clients are in Connecticut and I want to create custom territories to get information off of them. Well, first of all, I'm going to add the amount of clients. So I'm going to add the amount of clients to each one of these territories. Okay, so we can see 28 right here, New Haven County, that's our most popular. Oh no, actually, Windham County is our most popular county. And then the least popular is Fairfield. But let's say I want to actually put these into sales territories. I can just create something very quickly called a group. I'll group these two together and I'll group these three together. And I can rename these groups as well. So my blue group, I'm going to say, oh, this is my Western. Red will be Eastern. And then the center orange will be Central. Okay, beautiful. So there we go. We have our territories, and something that's super cool now, and something that you'll learn throughout each one of these desktop courses is how can you deal with hierarchical data sets or hierarchical data structures. All right, so this state and county is actually a hierarchical data set. By removing county from my graph here, we now have each one of our territories being separated based off of our legend here. Okay, so this is a super good looking graph. It takes like 2 seconds. A lot of my students get really excited when they see how to make this. We can even add labels here. If we want to add some custom stuff here. So let's say territory. And amount of clients. Let's increase this to 15. There we go. So we have Central, the amount of clients of 56 or 43, Eastern with 77, and Western with 56. Now you can also embed that pie chart if we wanted to into our tooltip. So we're really going to build some really robust visualizations here. You know what? I'm going to do cohort analysis. Let's do it. Why not? Actually, now let's stay with pie chart. Let's keep things a bit simpler. Okay, beautiful. So now we have that data for our central region. This is our pie chart for that central region. Okay, and the pie chart's going to change depending on the region that you select. Okay, beautiful. We can also create dashboards here in Desktop 3. With this, we're mostly going to learn about formatting. So this is something that you'll also learn in the other courses. I'm just going to show off a bit of formatting for now. So let's say we had two different charts. Well, we're going to talk about sizes. So you're going to learn all these different sizing. For instance, maybe you want automatic. You want everything to fit to your screen. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of this in all of our desktop courses. We're going to talk about how can you add backgrounds or borders even to our visualizations to make them look super sweet. Okay, for instance, if I access this screen, I can just add a quick border and background to both my visualizations. And we can add a bunch of different, and we can, by doing this, we're adding some white space to go between archives. So white space is a principle in visual analytics that we're going to learn about. If you want to learn more about visual best practices, I'll talk about that in a second. But there we go. That's going to conclude the live portion of this course. So let's just go back to our PowerPoint presentation right now. And let's talk about two other Tableau Desktop courses. So this course, I really want to highlight it. Desktop 1 and 2 Accelerated. People really like to take this course because it combines the most important parts of Desktop 1 and 2 Accelerated. You don't have to know anything about Tableau to take this course, and it seems to be the best bang for your buck. It's a 3-day condensed course, so you're only paying for 3 days, and you're going to learn Desktop 1 and 2. Normally, that would be a 4-day span. And then there's also something called visual analytics. So this is probably recommended after you've taken your desktop courses. If you want to go really deep into how can you create really visually appealing reports, you can take this visual analytics course. We have Tableau Server. So this is first you have Tableau Server Administration. So if you want to learn everything around security, governance, access, installations, this is your server administration course. And then you also have server architecture. So this is going to go more into the weeds of topology of servers. So how much RAM should you be using? How do you install failovers? How do you have high availabilities to make sure people always have access to your reports? That's all about server architecture. So check that one out. And then finally, there's two courses associated with Tableau Prep. So there's Prep 1, that's the foundation of Tableau Prep. And then there's also an Analyst Bootcamp. So the Analyst Bootcamp is interesting because it's going to combine desktop and prep together. This one is actually really, really interesting because it's a 5-day course. It's really going to cover everything you need to know from having that raw data set to moving it to a data set that's clean enough for Tableau Desktop. And then you're going to also learn the foundations of Tableau Desktop. So if you want to get someone up and going with Tableau in 5 days, really Analyst Bootcamp is super, super worthwhile checking out. Okay, so let's just talk about why you should take these courses. First of all, you really want to be able to shift to a modern data organization. Right now, most organizations are moving this way, so you might want to start getting on the bandwagon, or you might get left behind. Right? People also really appreciate learning about data. Okay, it's a really hot word right now. So if you give them a course about data, they'll be really appreciative about it. You also have world-class educators and expertly made curriculum. Okay, I don't want to toot my own my own horn too much here, but with me, if you take my courses with me, I'm going to throw in some really interesting use cases. Some of them are going to be a bit more silly. For instance, we can take a look at Bachelor data. Yeah, the TV show, The Bachelor, I'm a huge fan. You're going to be able to take a look at, oh, how can we organize ages from different Bachelor contestants in the previous seasons? What's the average distribution of those ages of those contestants? But I'm also going to look at more serious use cases, right? So my background is in economics and business, so we can also take a look at scatter plots and exploring correlations between, let's say, interest rates and spending, or interest rates and savings. So we'll take a look at that as well. And then finally, the materials. So these materials are unparalleled. Tableau has spent a ton of time and resources constantly refining these materials. So you know you're going to have the state of the art, the most up-to-date materials, and also certifications. Okay, so you can get Tableau certifications that you can post on your LinkedIn. So if you tell your employee, look, you're going to be able to put this on your LinkedIn, it's going to look really good for you. So not only are you going to learn skills that are going to help our organization, but it's also going to help your personal development. I find that's a really great way to sell your employees on taking these courses that, you know, they can be a little taxing because there's a lot of information, but hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to get a certification. If you are interested in these certifications, here's just a few of them that you can get. So you have your specialist, your associate, and your professional. One thing to note, your specialist for desktop, the official course that is recommended to take this specialist exam is actually Tableau Desktop 1 Fundamentals. So there you go. Take that course. You'll be ready to take this certificate without a doubt. And then there's also servers. So this is for people who are more advanced into server. There's an associate and a professional, and our courses will definitely help you prepare for this as well. All right, so I've done a lot of talking. I'd love to hear back from you guys. So are you more likely to attend a Tableau training as an individual or as a team? I'm just gonna launch that poll here. Please feel free to answer. You can also say not sure if you're not not too sure. It's no problem. Okay, awesome. Answers are rolling in. Beautiful. Okay, 5 more seconds. Excellent, excellent. So let's take a look at this for 1 second. So most people, so 66% said individual. 9% said team, and then not sure. You know what? I find it's great to do individually. It's also great to do as a team. You can kind of laugh at some data sets. You can have a side chat going just with just your team, laughing at some of the use cases we're going to explore. But yeah, individual is totally fine too. In fact, most of my students are actually individuals in my courses. So there you go. Thanks, guys. I'm just going to now pass it back to Michelle.
Excellent. Well, I'm so thrilled to see so many of you are interested in taking training. So let me tell you why you should be choosing ExitCertified for your authorized Tableau training. So professionals just like you have been training with us since 2001. And today we deliver over 9,500 authorized IT training courses by more than 25 different brands. You want to know that your training provider has the credibility to earn your organization's trust, and I can tell you that ExitCertified delivers. Vendor authorized IT training is our only business. When you train in our facilities, you'll find well-equipped classrooms with friendly staff who are dedicated to make your learning experience comfortable and productive. And in today's world, when you train remotely, you'll see that our investment in technology makes online learning every bit as engaging as the training you could take in person. So if you have any questions about why you should take a Tableau training course, or which course is right for you, or any questions whatsoever, I want to invite you to visit our website, linked in the chat, and to contact us. All right, this is going to move us into the question and answer portion of the presentation. And there are quite a few questions queued up in the Q&A, which is fantastic to see. So Jason, I will just read them out to you, and we'll tick these off one by one.
Sure.
All right, so first and foremost, when did Tableau originally develop their authorized curriculum?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's been over 5 years that they've developed it. I don't know for sure. But basically with their authorized training, because Tableau software keeps releasing new updates, they keep refining their data or their curriculum as new features come out. So that's super great. And then we also get user feedback through surveys, and we keep refining that training as well. So yeah, great question. It's been around. It's been around for a while.
Very cool. And what is the difference between the 90-day free access to e-learning on tableau.com and the free e-learning that users can already get by going directly to that site?
Yeah, that's when I'd have to double check on that one. I haven't really thought of that. Yeah, so we'll have to maybe send out an email for that one.
Sure. Um, let's see. Can you speak on how practical it is to invest in Tableau with Power BI out there being more popular? How would one decide which one to be trained on?
Yeah, for sure. So I would consider what software you're using within your organization. If, let's say, you're not using any of these softwares, I'm telling you, Tableau and Power BI are very similar. They both have very similar pricing. So really, just take a look and see which one feels best for you. In terms of being more popular, I'd have to take a look at the market share. I'm not too sure it's really by much of a wide margin because, after all, Tableau was just sold to Salesforce last year for like billions of dollars, right? So it's pretty popular out there for sure.
Can you speak a bit on is the SQL used for data manipulations or data joins available somewhere, or can it be created?
Yeah, that is a great question. So that's a bit more advanced. So basically, you can't generate the SQL that these visualizations are using, but you can go to Tableau. If you just Google Tableau SQL or SQL behind Tableau visualizations, you'll see, okay, when they put a dimension on rows, we're going to group by rows, but there's no way to actually have a very detailed explanation of that SQL within a specific visualization, unfortunately.
And what about social media data? Can you access the social media data using Tableau Desktop?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to depend where that social media data is stored, but one of them I've used for a client is Google Analytics. You can just connect directly to Google Analytics. There's a connector there. Yeah.
And can you speak on the advantages of Tableau compared to Power BI?
Yeah, that is a great question. Number one, I'll say, we I think their training program is better at Tableau. They actually to become a trainer, you actually have to go to Tableau headquarters for a week, and you're going to learn from people who have been in education their whole lives, very experienced people. They're going to prep you on different teaching strategies as well. In terms of the software itself, I think it's really going to depend on, are you more experienced using a Microsoft stack? So if you're really into Azure, you might consider using Microsoft. But if you're not really, if you don't really know what you're using, or if you're using something like Snowflake or Alteryx, I prefer using Tableau. I just find the connectors and the integration is a little easier on Tableau versus Power BI.
And does the analytics bootcamp specifically, or any other course, allow for time to work on or maybe get help with a project that you are working on? In other words, can a user bring a project to the class and either use that data or ask for some insight with that data set?
So that is a tough question. So it's going to depend on a case by case basis. What I've done in the past is I've said to a student, okay, if you want to like spend an extra half hour after the course and we can chat about your use case, I'd be happy to do that. And then like when students are doing their independent study, I can take a look at your use case and offer some suggestions. But if it's like a really, really complex use case, it's not going to be within the scope of the course, unfortunately.
And kind of feeding off of that post-class support, one attendee asked if there are options to add on some type of post-course support, maybe like coaching, instructor time, consulting services, in collaboration with Tableau training.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm also a consultant, right? So you guys can also have access to me, um, whether it's billable or not. Let's say this is a very common scenario I have very often with my students. A few weeks after taking the course, they'll have like a very quick question about something that was covered in the course, or maybe something that wasn't even covered in the course. If I know the answer, I'll just send you guys that quick email with the answer, or I'll point you to like a blog post with the resources that you'll need to answer your question. I'll never leave you dry. But if you still need for me to take a closer eye at your use case, you could also discuss some consulting work with you guys as well. I'm happy to do that.
And let's squeeze in one more question. Can you share a couple of real world examples where Tableau prep would be necessary?
Yeah, so in Tableau, most data structures they're going to use are going to be a tabular data structure, right? So with that in mind, if your data set isn't a tabular data set, you're going to run into some issues when you're using Tableau. Now, these aren't very common. Most use cases are going to be tabular data set. But for instance, I was working with a government agency on how they can track their COVID infection. So how can you draw a line from one person to another, to another, to another? I ended up using Tableau Prep because the data source that they were using wasn't actually in tabular form. It was actually in JavaScript object form, right? So you're able to take that JavaScript object and basically put it through a series of tools to transform it into a tabular data set to move it to Tableau. So there's just like anytime that data set isn't tabular, you might want to use Tableau Prep. And then the other big use case I see Tableau Prep used for is data quality. You can actually test how many nulls you have in your data set. Maybe you're joining data together and you want to say, oh, was that join actually successful? How can I evaluate the quality of that join? That's where Tableau Prep really comes into play and is super helpful.
Excellent. Well, we are at the end of our session. There were a couple of questions we didn't get to. I've noted those down and we'll try to either answer them in a blog post or connect with you directly. I've also shared the ExitCertified link once again in the chat window to learn about the prerequisites for the course or to speak with one of our coordinators. You can contact us by visiting our website. Thank you so much, Jason, for this informative session. Thank you everyone for taking some time out of your day to attend. As a reminder, we've recorded the session and we'll email it out to everyone. So keep an eye for a follow-up message from us.